Thank you, guys. Thank you. Before we get started, I have like 3 parts that I'm really gonna share with you guys today. I'm gonna share a little bit about the overall strategy of your marketing, like figuring out who's your demographic, what market share do you have in that, and then from that point, because I think that's really important for you to identify. I know a lot of us, we typically just go and we start putting up Facebook pages and we start get our website up there, and we want to get out there and just start going. When I want to take a step back a little bit and then sort of set that up, then we're going to talk a little bit about websites, and then we are going to talk a little bit about also SEO, which is search engine optimization. I'm sure you guys have probably heard about that. And then also PPC, which is pay-per-click. So I'll just give you some background on me and the company. I used to work at Georgia Pacific in Atlanta. I was their web marketing manager. And one day, and I'll tell you how I started my business. One day they came in and they said, "Hey, Lincoln, we're gonna be moving our department over to Iowa." So I had a team of about 15 folks that worked for me there, and they said, "You're gonna have to lay those guys off, and then you're gonna, unfortunately, this is gonna be your last week at Georgia Pacific." So I came home, I went to work, came home, and as soon as I put the garage door up, my wife was like, "I know something was wrong, something was happening." And from that point, I decided, you know what, I have experience. I always wanted to start my business. I was doing stuff part-time with a lot of companies on the side, and I decided, you know what, now might be the time to go out there and do it. And I'll tell you, if I hadn't done that, I don't think I would have been doing anything like this right now. So I got booted out of corporate America, but I was glad that actually happened, because it allowed me now to move forward and start my business. And really, I'm so passionate about what I do, and helping people and learning from other people as well, because I'm always learning. I don't know it all by any stretch of the means, but just to be able to interact with other business owners and entrepreneurs and people that are just trying to get their message out there and really just craft that perfect message for your audience so that they can do business with you. I love doing that. That is like a passion of mine. And I'll tell you one thing. I have a really small team. I don't have a big team at all. Actually, in Henry County, it's only me. So a lot of people see me at all of the events everywhere, and I'm doing it all from here. I don't have an office, so I don't work out of an office. I have a virtual office, but I do have 2 other partners. One that's very instrumental in the website part of the business. His name is Lee Glass. And then I have another partner, and he helps out a lot with our SEO part of the business, and his name is Omar Thomas. And then we also work with a lot of other contractors that help us out with areas of need that we need. So we're a really small company, really niche. But that doesn't mean we have some big clients that we actually work with, and that doesn't limit us at all as a company. So if some of you guys that are here today and you say, you know, I'm a one-man show, or you know, I'm doing it all, or I'm trying to figure out how to do this and how to get it out there, I don't want you to think that because you are in that position that you can't be effective. You can be effective no matter where you are, no matter what your budget is. So what I'm also going to talk about, why small businesses marketing is different. Identify your market, sizing up the competition, auditing your brand a little bit. So we're going to talk about that. And I know Lydia is going to go even further into branding, and then selecting marketing channels, and then crafting your creative. Then also advertising platforms, and what advertising platforms you should be using, and getting professional marketing help if you ever need that. and then also measuring your results, which is very important because when you launch your website or you have your social media or Google AdWords or whatever it is, you want to make sure that you're measuring those results as well. So when we look at differences between a small versus large company, these three things are some of the major things that always stand out. Budget, which is always big because a lot of people say, you know what, I don't have that big of a budget, but how can I be effective? You know, there's some maybe nonprofits or there's some people where you have to be really creative, and that could differentiate some of the things that you do or some of the channels that you use. And then staffing, like I mentioned, you know, sometimes you could have a huge team, sometimes you could have a small team, and that also affects, you know, the type of marketing that you do. And then data, which is very important because you want to know, where's my customer coming from? What are they doing? How did they get here? How did they find me? And how can I get my message in front of them? So we're gonna go through that. And most times, a lot of people just overthink it. They overthink the situation and you end up not doing anything. I know I was in that position before where I was just trying to figure it all out on my own, try to figure out like, how do I attract customers? How do I get my name out there? How do I really get business from not only in Henry County, but outside of Henry County? And I'll tell you guys, one of the things that I actually first did was not in digital marketing at all. That really launched my business. And what I did was I joined the Henry County Chamber of Commerce. How many people are a part of the Chamber of Commerce? Okay. If you're not a part of the Henry County Chamber of Commerce, and this is just my little spiel on the chamber, I would urge you to join the chamber, because when I first started, that was the first thing I did. The next day I got laid off, I went to a chamber event, and then I just jumped in, got involved. I started doing stuff for people. I met them and just started working with individuals, and then the next thing you know, my business started growing. I started getting customers. So marketing segmentation, what is that? And that is the process of finding, knowing, and reaching your customers. So there are a couple different types of customer segmentation. You have geographics, and that's the physical location of your customers. The other thing is demographics, age, sex, race, religion, and more of the customer's education, income, and marital status. When you know some of these things about your customers, then you know which channels you can use. I know Leslie or Keith talked about Snapchat and talked about, you know, the audience that's using Snapchat. You know, some businesses just don't fit in that specific channel. So you make sure you know which channel that you're in. Then psychographics, that's the purchasing patterns and beliefs and values and tastes of a population segment. Now I'll show you one thing. I work with Heritage Bank here in Henry County, and they had a product that they were trying to get out to the masses. How many people have a CD product? Oh boy. Yeah, certificate of deposit. A couple people got it. All right. So that was when we started looking at who are we going to target and how are these individuals going to see this CD product. A lot of people I know, and I heard this before, a lot of people say, you know what? Print advertising may not be the right way to go. This may not be the right way to go. But what we did, we ran a full page ad in the Henry County Times. And you probably, if you get the Henry County Times, then you see it. But the target audience for this was older people. And when you look at the older demographic, they typically always read the papers. If you go and you look at it, they're always at coffee shops, or they're at the doctors. When I was at the doctor the other day, you see the paper that's right there. A lot of people think, how do you tie this into digital at all? How do you do that? So on this, we have a tracking phone number that's set up on this. So if people call this phone number, it tracks them, and we know that it comes specifically from this paper, and we're running these, in the different markets of the bank. We're running this particular ad in different areas. We also have, depending on the demographic of the individual, we might have African American, we might have Chinese, we might have whatever individuals that match the market where we're sending this. So when people pick it up and they look at it and they identify with the person that's in this marketing piece, then they call the phone number and we can track it. And we also have something called, so if you guys are not tracking any of your magazine articles or any newspapers or anything like that, it's very important. So there's a piece of software called CallRail, callrail.com. You can look at that. That's the software that we use for that. The next thing is geodemographics. Those living in the same location with similar backgrounds share a similar customer mindset. I want to ask, how many people right now have, if you have a website, Google Analytics on your website right now? Got a couple. Very important. Well, we're gonna talk a little bit about Google Analytics, because what that does, it tells you who your audience is. If you don't know who's coming to your website, that's just like, I'm from the Bahamas, so I was born and raised in the Bahamas. That's just like us going out to sea without a sail. We don't know where we're going. We're without a compass. We're just going out there, we're just going. So I urge you, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that, and I'm gonna show you a couple things with Google Analytics on how to install this on your website and some things to use so that you can know after it takes about 5 or so days for it to start calculating data. And once it calculates that data, then you can go in and see how long people were on your website. You could see where they came from. You could see what they do, what their interests are. And then you can start crafting your website to be a little bit more specific to the people that are coming to your website instead of having something so blanket. Then benefit segmentation. Customers are grouped by benefit they seek from your product or service. And that's just a typical example of this here in that ad that we did. So how do I use this? Right now on like I said, once you install Google Analytics, you're gonna know who your known customers are. Then there's gonna be a segment of unknown customers that you don't even know who these people are. You don't know where they're coming from or how they're doing or what they're doing on your website. So you wanna make sure that you can tie in those unknown folks. And I'll show you, hopefully I can show you an example of, in Google Analytics, it will show you who your customers are. Then there will be like an unbranded section where it has a big population of customers, and it's called branded and unbranded. And in there, you have to go, and you're missing, the trick to this is a lot of people miss out on their target audience because they don't go into that unbranded section. When you go into the unbranded section in Google Analytics and you drill down into it, you can create what's called a segment of customers. I know this may seem kind of technical. So you'll find out who purchases your product, where they live, and what problem you're solving. Because the reason why people are coming to your website or they type in on Google and they're looking for a product or service is because they're trying to solve a problem. The one thing about Google and SEO and search engine optimization is the people that are coming to that website are Google's customers. Our websites that we have are like the products that are out there. So we have to optimize our website to show up in the search engines, and I'll tell you, it's so difficult. How many companies do you think that are just right around the square or right in McDonough? Hundreds, right? Hundreds. Think about this. When you're ranking on search engines, think about the thousands of companies that are out there that may be in your same niche, or there may be one or two other customers that are in your same niche that are trying to rank for that exact same keyword that Google's searching for. So some of the things that I'm going to show you along the website and for SEO optimization is going to help you to sort of stand out from the crowd a little bit in your search results. It's going to so we're going to talk a little bit about that so I can show you how that actually happens. Then a couple other things. Identify your target market by writing the following script. So this is really important. Describe your customer's physical description and background. So this is you're making up who your ideal customer is. Who is this individual? What do they look like? Right? This may be, okay, for example, I'm looking for an African American that is between the ages of 30 to 45, has 2 kids that are in private school that live in Henry County. And so you gotta get that specific on who your customers are so you know who you're targeting. So if you don't have some of this stuff right now for your customer base, I urge you to do this. So describe the customer's physical description and background. Define what they want, what you think they want. Define the problem. Why are they coming to you? Why are they coming to your website? Identify how they buy. How are they getting there? Are they walking into a physical store? Are they doing this online? Is it an email? Is it an ad? Define that, and then also determine the best way to communicate with them. And that's how you'll start to define your market. So this is called a buyer persona, and this is an example of that. I'm setting up goals and values. So Eric wants to increase his agency business, and he wants to increase the capabilities of his team, and he wants to scale his business. His values are he wants committed to professional development for him and his employees, provide value for his clients, and using white hat marketing principles. Then you go into, this is another part of your persona. What are the types of books that I think this individual reads, right? Good to Great, Think and Grow Rich. You know where this is coming from? Leslie and Keith talked a little bit about targeting and how you can target based on interest and how you can target based on demographic of the individual. So now when you have this data, you know who to target. So you can target people that have read the book Good to Great. You could target people that know about Think and Grow Rich. Then magazines. What kind of magazines do these people read? What kind of websites do they go to? I'll give you a perfect example. My daughter, she was having some issues with her eyes and reading, and we were like, oh, what's going on? Why is she stumbling and having some problems with this reading? And so we found out somebody gave us a recommendation from the school to go to this doctor that was in Marietta. So, we searched all around. We couldn't find anybody in Henry County, so we ended up going to Marietta. And this doctor was eye therapy, eye vision therapy. So we go to the doctor, we go through, she does the eye vision therapy, and I said, you know what? I checked out his website, and I saw, he wasn't doing anything. Then I looked and I said, I asked him, how's he marketing? He's like, I'm really not doing anything right now. So what I did, I said, I want this guy as a customer. So I found out, I started asking him these prep questions. What kind of websites do you go to, when you go to websites? He was like, I'm always on Bing, I like Bing, MSN, MSNBC, this type of stuff, or I read this magazine, or I do this. And I started asking him some of these qualifying questions here that would help me out to create an ad that targeted specifically him. So what I did, once I got all this data, I came back and I created an ad that specifically targeted this doctor and his business. And what I said, I had the ad, it had my face on it, and I said, I want to do business with you. And it targeted specifically him. And believe it or not, I'll tell you, within 2 days, he saw the ad multiple times, and he called me and he was like, how did you do that? However you did that, he said, first of all, that was creepy, but I don't know how you did that, but I want you to do the same thing for me and my customers. So once you know this data, it was so easy for me to create an ad that specifically targeted him, and it was just like it was talking directly to him. And that's just like, I don't know if you guys have seen sometimes, if you're in church and the pastor's preaching, and you're like, golly, man, he's talking about me, man. Yeah, so that's pretty much the exact same thing. So again, just a little bit more about the persona, the age, the gender, marital status, that type stuff. And then this here, challenges or pain points that they may have. And then objections and role in purchase. And you guys will get these slides. I don't want to, it's just after lunch, so I don't want to put you guys to sleep. So how your business differs and stands out from others in the market. What about your business sets it apart about your target audience? What frustrates them? What surprises them? What's really important to them when they're doing whatever they're doing? That's some of the things that I talk about. Why, again, another value proposition. Why do I bank at Heritage Bank? You know, and it's because this is how I feel. And polling some of the customers that are there, they love to see friendly faces. They love that people know them by name when they walk in. They love that they do stuff in the community for other individuals. I love the teller live technology where I can just drive up to the teller, press the thing, and talk to the teller right there live. I love the iPhone app that allows me to remote deposit. And again, they know me by name. So once I was able to gather this, all I did was send out a quick poll, and I sent this poll out to their email list, and then they started answering questions. They started answering questions from the poll list. We got that data back, and now we know, okay, this is what these customers like. So now, when we create any advertising or we do anything, if we, in our local community, you know, we have papers, we have the magazines, we have, and if you're doing stuff on your website, now when those individuals come to the website, they're seeing some of the things that they're interested in, and they're saying, man, these guys are talking directly to me because this is exactly what I want. It wasn't rocket science. You told me what you wanted. You told me what you wanted, so I just gave it to you. And that's really the simple fact of the matter. So if you can identify anything that helps you stand out, stop, pivot, think about it, and then go create it. So once you know it, now you can begin to market to your core and to market your core difference. And if you need help identifying your differences, ask your customers. I'm telling you, don't be afraid to ask your customers. You think, man, I don't know if I want to ask my customers these things. Ask them. They will tell you. And when they tell you, you just turn around and market to them exactly how they want to be marketed to. It's really just that simple. And we overthink it, and it's that simple. So now what you want to do now is start sizing up your competition. Who's my competition in the marketplace? Who are these individuals? Who are my competitors? And here are some things that you could do to size up your competition. Make a list of all of your direct competitors. All right? Number one. Number two, make a list of non-competitors that may take market share from you. Okay? Then number three, they have a similar offering and are viable in direct competition with you. You're making a list. Number four, what drives them away from your offer? These are some of the questions you need to be asking yourself. What drives them away from my offer? Take a good look at their website. What makes them different than you? What's your core message? What are you saying? What are they saying? Visit a website, it's called moat.com, MOAT.com, and see if they're running any ads. What kind of ads are they running? And these are just little tips little tricks that you could do that you can see what other people are running, your competitors and other people see what ads and stuff that they're running. So you can, and if they're like doing really well and you're trying to get some market share, you're trying to break into this market and try to say, okay, well, my company's here too. How do I compete with these individuals? You can go to that website and you can see some of the things that they're doing. And then you can sort of say, okay, if their customers, they're doing really well and their customers are responding to these types of advertising, then you could do similar. All right? I'm not saying go and steal their stuff now. Don't steal anybody's stuff. But what you do is it just helps you to compete. Then use tools to evaluate their online messaging. And I'll give you some of those tools in a second. And then make a list of everything that threatens your business and make a counterclaim to it. These are some things that are going to help you out. So how do you determine your market share? You know, how much market share do you currently own? So for example, if you, there's data, white papers and stuff that are all over with your industries. I know, for example, James, I'm just going to use you. You know, James is insurance agent, and he goes out, there's a white paper that he looks at, and he says, okay, in the insurance industry, in my target area, what's the total amount, what are the total amount of customers, and how many people are getting a particular service? It could be car insurance, life insurance, whatever it is. And they have this data that's out there, right? So you go and you find that data, and then so you look at overall in a year, and white papers are out there on every industry. In a year, you can look at and see, okay, this is the total market share, and then you can look at your revenue and look at, you know, what kind of revenue you're bringing in, and then you can determine your market share based off of the entire industry and then what you're specifically, your piece of the pie that you're bringing in. So that'll sort of give you an idea of, I have about 2% market share, or, you know, I have about 1% market share, and you know that, okay, I need to do some more in order to target my customers so I could build my market share.